have to work for what you want, and there are no shortcuts.
It's season 9 of Wealth Magazine's Business Access, and we're starting off with a Business Access exclusive as we journey through the life of renowned orthodontist and entrepreneur Dr. Otto Beck.
I was abusing power that I had. Somebody didn't do exactly the way I wanted. It was not comfortable for that person.
Born in Germany in 1949, Dr. Beck moved to Jamaica in the 1970s, becoming one of Jamaica's first orthodontists. Beck is credited for making orthodontics popular in the island, and his Tin Grinners Club has become a household name. Beck is now preparing to launch the brand in other countries across the Caribbean. But before all that, he was a little boy who lived in a little village with dreams of following in his father's footsteps.
When I was born, I was the fourth child of 13 children. I was the first son, the long-awaited son. I was told later that I was spoiled rotten, which of course is not true. I remember when I grew up, as soon as I could walk, I was going with my father, who was a country vet, which means he went to farms and he treated cows, he treated horses. And I was the one next to him, so I was the next vet in the family. Helping him made me feel that I wasn't a little child. I was actually his assistant, and it made me feel really important because I could do something nobody else could. When I saw the inside of a cow, which he was operating on, I was the one next to him. And then when I did very well, he let me drive home. He put me in his lap, and I operated the steering wheel. And I did that for a long time until one day I almost hit another car, and that actually frightened him, so he held back on that from there on. He encouraged my growing up. He helped me gain the confidence that I had very early in life. And I had, sounds strange, but I had very little doubt about myself at any time, because I got backup from my father, from my success in sport. Of course, I was a member of a football team. First as a goalie, later I played center forward, because there I could score goals, and I was somebody who was more than just a goalie, which of course added to my confidence and to my reputation at school, which at that time, when I entered puberty, mattered more and more, because a successful little boy is more successful with girls than somebody who's not. I was not a very quiet child. I was somebody who stood up and said what he thought was right. I learned that in my family. Growing up in a large family teaches you that you're only one of a group, that you are not better, but also not worse than the rest of them, that you have rights and have privileges, but they are not more than the rest of them. You learn how to integrate into a group of people very, very easily. And I've seen many individuals who never learned that and had great problems understanding it and then adjusting to situations where that was required. It's also the fact that a large family is a force to reckon with, because when it comes to school, I think I had a sibling in just about every grade, and that helps. My mother was quiet, my father was demanding, and he was the chief. If you did what he said, you were home free. You could do what you wanted and you had many privileges. If you didn't do it, that was tough luck. What I can remember, what influenced me a lot, was a rule that my father employed. He says, you can do anything you like in sport, and sport was my main focus for many years. You can do anything, but you have to be number one in school. There was a huge incentive. It also taught me that you have to work for what you want, and there are no shortcuts. When my father died, I was in Wales. I was in grammar school in Wales, and I got a telegram one morning that says, "Come at once, death in the family." And that was the worst 24 hours of my life that followed. Because what happened, I didn't know who had died. I was on the train from London, and I caught myself thinking what I could afford. What could I cope with if X died or Y died? I was hoping that my father hadn't died, my mother hadn't died, but if X died, it wasn't so bad. And the guilt feeling that I got as a result of that was absolutely, it haunted me for many, many years. After that, in school, I basically stopped doing any work. And I was not the nicest of child. My mother was very calm, and she let me get away with murder. At age 17, I played all night at clubs, and she wouldn't stop me. I think she was not able to stop me. I joined a rock group in 1966 or 67. The band was called the Twilights. It was the music of the day. Everybody was a Beatles fan, and those who were not were Rolling Stones fans. We played gigs on the weekends, sometimes midweek, and soon were recognized as the band of the region. It helped me through many negatives, and certainly also through the loss of my father. My mother, I could see it, was very worried that I would continue doing nothing and then wouldn't be successful. And then I said to myself, I'm going to show them. One mother, no father, 13 children was not the easiest of life. My mother was a very strong person. She got through that, and my eldest sister basically acted as a father. That made the difference. I studied as hard as I could. I decided I was going to go to medical school. My girlfriend's mother actually at the time said, "Why do you do that? You are good with your hands and you have a brain to think. Why don't you try dental school?" As soon as I entered dental school, our professor talked to us, and then he asked me, "What, you're left-handed? We don't have anything for left-handed people." The dental chairs, they were all set up for right-handed people. So he basically thought I had chosen the wrong discipline, and I am a very stubborn person. I said to myself, I'm going to show you. And I suffered through the first two courses. Later in the studies, when we treated patients, I was faster than everybody else because I was using both hands. It paid off. I had suffered, and then I gained, and then I benefited. I graduated from dental school in Berlin in 1974. I was a good student, and when I was finished, my orthodontic professor, who was a big shot at university, called me in and told me, "You know what, I've looked for somebody like you. If you come to me, I'll make you a professor in 7 years." No, in the 70s, a professor was the closest thing to God. So to me, it was a big thing, and I'd never thought about orthodontics. But it was the big man who asked me to, so there must be something to it. And I said, I'll be happy to join your department. Now this was Berlin in 1974, where every newcomer to a dental department had to be approved by the rest of the postgraduate students. And they took a vote, and they were of the opinion that Beck had a mouth that was way too big. They didn't want him. So there went my opportunity to become a professor. I was of course very disappointed, if not angry. But I moved on very quickly, and I decided I was going to do the next thing that I had to do anyway, and that was to join the German army. In Germany at that time, every single male had to join the army. I would then have to serve my 18 months in the army as a dentist. I did not want to join, but I learned a lot of things that I wouldn't have learned otherwise, or that would have taken me years to learn. I had a group of, I think, 2,000 soldiers to look after, and that taught me how to not abuse your power over that many people who have to do what you say. It's a situation which was totally new to me. Somebody didn't do exactly the way I wanted it to be done. I made him do this over and over and over until he got it done, and it was not comfortable for that person. I was abusing power that I had to shortcut things. What made me change is I saw how they suffered. The mistakes that I made was basically, instead of teaching them better, I demanded that they would do it better. I learned, I hope very quickly, that there are other ways of teaching people how to do things that they haven't learned previously. I think it made me a better person. When I left the army, I had just turned 26. During the last 6 months of my being in the army, I got a letter from the second in command at the University of Berlin asking me if I would join his department and become an orthodontist. And I didn't hesitate one moment. I think I phoned him and told him, of course. I was now an orthodontist, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I left the orthodontic department. I had also written to just about any dental association in the world in countries where it was warm, and asked if they needed an orthodontist. And I got one letter from the then chief of the Dental Association in Jamaica, who said, well, Jamaica is going through a time that's not too easy for us, but I think you would still have a good time if you joined. And I thought, well, that's me. So I literally gave my brother my car, bought a ticket, and came to Jamaica. I came here on the 16th of June 1979. I came through Bermuda, through the Bahamas, and eventually late at night on a Saturday night we landed in Jamaica, and we were greeted by my colleague Dr. Anthony Lewis and his wife. They recognized us because we were the only white people on the plane. The first few days were impressive because when we woke up the next morning it was warm and I loved it. And then we decided we were going to go for a walk. And I could see my friend Tony becoming a little uneasy. And I could not figure out why was he uneasy, until I learned that you were not supposed to go for a walk. It was not regarded as safe. When I first came here, I believe Bob Marley helped, because we were all Bob Marley fans. We were just curious how that country looked, what that country looked like where he grew up, where he wrote his music. He sings about the ghetto and about the hard times. So we were expecting the ghetto and hard times and third world roads. That was not a culture shock. There was never an issue where we said, oh gee, I cannot take this. Not at all. What helped a lot in Jamaica, and that really impressed me more than anything else, that everybody we met was friendly. I wasn't here for more than a week and I was invited to houses. I was unknown to me and it just got to me. Until, of course, eventually I learned that that's how it's done very often here in Jamaica. It was not long that I had to decide how to operate an office, and Tony Lewis, who had a few chairs in his office, offered me one and said, okay, you can start on Monday. And I said, yeah, but I don't have any equipment. I don't have any material. What? You don't have any material? So I had come with a suitcase, the return ticket, but no material, no nothing. We took a ride to Miami, came off the plane, went to the telephone booth, opened the yellow pages, and I stuck my finger on a name that said it was orthodontist, and I phoned him. I told him, I'm an orthodontist, I want to start working in Jamaica, I have no equipment, I have no material, can you advise me? And he laughed, and he laughed. And when he finished laughing, he said, look, I tell you what, I'm going to buy you the 10 first cases, and when you've got enough money, you pay me back. He stayed my friend for a long time. He bought the stuff for me, we went back to Kingston and we started the office.
We continue the story of Dr. Otto Beck next week as he speaks about building his brand, the importance of staying on the cutting edge or trusting your instincts as a leader, even if others resent you for it, and the importance of giving back. Last week on Business Access, Tin Grinners Club founder Dr. Otto Beck shared an intimate account of his childhood, the loss of his role model, his father, and the unique set of occurrences which led him to opening a private practice in Jamaica.
My mother was very worried that I wouldn't be successful. I said to myself, I'm going to show them. I suffered, I gained, and then I benefited.
We continue his story this week as he speaks about building the Tin Grinners brand, the importance of staying on the cutting edge even if others resent you for it, and the necessity of giving back.
When I arrived, I was the only orthodontist in Jamaica, but there had been other orthodontists who had all left during the 70s. The people in Jamaica very much knew what orthodontics was, but it was not priority, understandably so. So I started basically from scratch, which also meant that I had to get everything from abroad because nothing was there. The number of patients grew quite slowly. The relationship with an orthodontist is different from the relationship with a regular doctor, because once you engage in treatment, you stay with that orthodontist for about 2 years or longer. They of course ask themselves the question, I am supposed to spend money on this guy and tomorrow he's gone. One question I was asked for years, asked by every single patient who needed braces, but are you going to stay? I told them, of course, I'm staying, I like it here. And eventually that question, of course, disappeared. From my end, I wanted this to become much more popular, and one idea I had was, well, what if I didn't call my office an office but rather a club. Well, a friend of mine told me, well, since you arrived, I see all these tin grinners. And I said, bingo.
I wish that I had done it as soon as I had been told I should do it.
Far easier than I expected.
I think the first impact we have on somebody else usually is through sight and speech. I say hello to you, without you knowing, you look at my teeth. And if those teeth are sticking out, or if I have no teeth, the impression is not a good impression. And we only have one chance to make a first impression. Little by little, orthodontics became more and more popular until today it's extremely popular. It changes people's life. It helps them gain confidence. I've heard that many times over the years, patients or former patients telling me that's what the difference was. It helps them with their careers, it helps them with their spouses. It may sound wrong, but if you have straight teeth, you will be more successful than when you have crooked teeth.
Made me a different person.
Walk taller, you feel better.
I think you'll get on with girls pretty good.
Especially if you have a $1 million smile.
Our approach is meant to be a very personal approach. I love to know something about a patient who comes to see me, because he's going to leave with something from me. My heart is in that. Because of that, I want to know whom am I dealing with. Is it a person that is striving like I am? Is it a person who is not confident enough? Whatever it is, I like to know something. I depend on that, but it also makes a difference, I believe. One day I walked outside and Mommy was getting the new appointment from the receptionist, and little Johnny, about 3 or 4 years old, stood in the corner and he had grabbed a pencil and he was writing on the wall. And I saw his face and he was happy. And I said, why not? So we started this, every patient, please write something on the wall. Then we thought, why only write something? Why don't we put their pictures up? And we started doing that and they loved it. We felt that if we do that, we can accomplish what we really want. We want them to feel that they are part of this. One of my favorite places in Jamaica is a place called Silver Sands. And I used to go there every weekend of life, and I enjoyed the beach and the sand, and I then decided in my next life I was going to be a lifeguard on the beach. But here I was, an orthodontist. Lying on the beach, I thought, well, let's do the next best thing. Later, I will buy an old bus and I will turn it into a dental office, and I will go around places in Jamaica and I treat them for a pound of banana and some yum, and I live that way. That I was dreaming on the beach. I simply thought I was not coping very well. There were too many patients. I was beyond busy. And if you're busier than busy, then the fun comes out of work. And I didn't want to accept that. I wanted to have the fun that I think I deserved, going to work every day. In 1995, Dr. Knight, my now partner, came to Jamaica and was looking for an office. When I asked Dr. Knight to join me, I didn't know what to expect. After a while, I thought to myself, gee, this is really fun. We could see more patients. Our patients can tell us whom they want to see. To me, that was major. That added to the fun, and it reduced whatever stress there was before. And today, I think it was probably one of the very best things I've ever done. Because one of the side effects was that I realized that I could do this dental mobile clinic now.
After working to build his brand and prove his value in the unstable economy of 1970s Jamaica, Beck's business began to take off, so much so that he formed a partnership which allowed him to make his dream of creating a mobile clinic a reality.
The idea to have a bus was not commercial. It was just combining things that I love doing. One, I love my job, and two, I love Jamaica. We bought a new bus, empty, in Brazil and brought it into Jamaica, and then we built an orthodontic office into the bus. Since September of 2000, we've been going around North Coast, South Coast and 4 Kingston schools. We of course see patients that would not be able to come to Kingston. We see many patients who prefer to be seen on the bus. It's a fully equipped office, 3 chairs. We also have a little cinema that we run whilst we are treating patients. So we're having a good time and the economic benefits are substantial. When you are in good shape, when you make money, when you live a good life in a society like this, you should also give something back. I became a member of a group that looked after the street corner boys, which you could see at Trafalgar Road at the stoplight, wiping windscreens, and asked for 10 cents at that time. A Peace Corps volunteer friend of mine had started this. He taught them reading, writing during the day, and then every Monday morning I took my little car, went to the stoplight and took 3 or 4 of them and went to the dental auxiliary school and treated them. I did that for years. And when the YMCA burns down and my friend had left for the United States, there was no follow-up. I'm in touch with those street corner boys that were not killed over the years. And I've witnessed the death of, I think, at least 5 of them. They were either killed by a neighbor, by a friend, and I have to say also by police. But the ones who are alive, I frequently see 3 or 4 of them. Guess what they're doing today? The white windscreens. It felt awful. But you get used to that, and I got used to it. They are not violent, and I think that was the positive effect that all of that had. Their kind of life has impacted me in that I know to live you don't need a lot. The question is not so much how to survive. I learned that many years before. The question is if you're ambitious, if you want more, if you want education. They don't question their life, they just live it. I have been involved in treating cleft palate children, in treating children from the ghetto in a program that we created at the JDF. It went on for years until the dental auxiliary school closed down, and Bustamante Hospital had chairs that broke down. In the last few months I literally sat on the ground treating cleft children. Cleft palate is a situation where the lip, the jaw, the palate do not fuse. They are very often, especially in the countryside, hidden away because they look at their children as retarded children as well. They don't do very much, they don't do very well in school if they go there at all. So from my end, it's a real disaster and it has to change. What I want a good office to be is personal. We know our patients, they are part of this, but it does not produce good quality. It produces a good atmosphere. The good quality of treatment comes with high tech, of course skilled orthodontists, that goes without saying. I certainly invested at times where I didn't have any money, just to get on with my skills, just to use high tech that was available. And if you call that a mistake, I recovered from every one of those mistakes very happily. 3D technology, for instance, makes all the difference in the world in orthodontics. It was resented and called unnecessary or even harmful when it first started. With stuff that's really new, it's the same thing. It takes a long time, it always takes people to do it first, and those who do it first have to accept that they're being resented by some others. But eventually, if the idea is a good idea, if the change is a great change, everybody will see that they benefit from it, and then they will jump and do the same thing. Ginny, my wife, I met as a patient. She came for orthodontic treatment. Eventually I treated her, and then I learned that she was a radio announcer. Well, one day I asked her, can't we develop a program that you promote on your show about oral hygiene? And she said, no problem. And once a week she did the 2-3 minutes promoting toothbrushing, whatever it was. This is how it developed, and you know, how do things go? One day we were finished early and it developed from there. We have 3 children and my 2 daughters are in California in school. My son, Philip, has entered dental school. To me, that's the most important part of my life. I love my job and all of that, but when it comes to my children, there's nothing that gets even close to that. I'm German. I grew up in Germany and I will always be German. But I have come to like Jamaica, and I've become Jamaican in a way that I live a lifestyle that in part is Jamaican. I certainly feel at home here and not back where I grew up. I have a little problem with the definition of an entrepreneur, because if it is somebody who starts something new, then the answer would be, I'm not an entrepreneur, I have not started anything new. I have started a new way of doing the same thing, which I believe is the better way. But my profession has been around a long time. We just progressed. We just moved on very fast. The goal is striving. Striving is the goal. There is no reaching. I think once I've reached, then I'm dead. Hard work is an everyday thing, and if I don't work hard and if I'm not successful, I'm not happy. Looking for happiness in life, I think, is everybody's goal. And if you ask me if I'm happy, I would answer loud and clear yes.